So, I have a quick question for y'all as Christians and as athletes. What is the most important thing when it comes to sports? Not everyone at once. Discipline? Actually, that's pretty close. Anything else? No. That was what I was expecting, but no, it is not winning. What was the back in the back? Oh, I heard something, but I didn't hear what it was. Okay, yeah, another win. Nope. Discipline's pretty close. Anyone else got anything? Okay, so discipline's actually really close to what I had in mind, because that kind of fits in with what I had, which is honor. So you guys have probably heard the cliche, it's not if you win, it's how you play the game. And we kind of hear that and we laugh, okay, great. Yeah, sure, it's how you play the game. But that actually is true, particularly for y'all as Christians. What y'all are supposed to do as Christians is to make your life, everything in your life, a light that points back to Jesus. And now, I know the ones who are at St. Paul's are going to at least know of this movie. But I'm curious, have any of y'all seen Chariots of Fire? Okay. You should go out after this and watch it. It's a great film, but I kind of expected that. It's a little bit before y'all's time. So, Chariots of Fire, for me, when I grew up, when I was about y'all's age, I ran track and cross country. So I was a runner, still do it now to this day. And so this movie, Chariots of Fire, was a really important one for me. So it's about the 1928 Olympics. And it focuses on the track and field team that came out of Great Britain. And one of the characters it focuses on is a man, Eric Liddell. Now, Eric was a missionary, and this is all a true story. So this is all based on fact. So he was actually a runner. He was a Scottish missionary. So those of you who are Presbyterian in here, take pride, because this is one of y'all's. And Eric Liddell, in addition to that, he was a runner. So he's a missionary and he's a runner. One point at the beginning of the movie, when he's getting ready to train for the Olympics, he's meeting with his father and some of the other elders at his church. And what they tell him is that what he's doing is great. He needs to keep this up, his running, because people need to see a muscular Christian, as they said. So they're Scots, so that's how they're saying it there. So muscular Christians. And this is something for us all to remember, because we do want people to see that Christians can be muscular, that they can be athletes, that they can go out and do these great athletic things. And Eric, one of the things he says later on in the movie to his sister, it's important to him to be a runner. Because as he says to his sister, when he runs, he feels God's pleasure. Part of that is because he's honoring God with what he's doing. It isn't about him. It's about the honor that he's giving back to God. Now, later in the movie, one of the big events of the movie is that Eric ends up having to make a choice. So his event, for those of you that don't run track, is going to be on a Sunday. And so he has to make this decision. Is what he's doing about himself? Is it about himself? Is it about his country? Or is it about something greater? Is it about God? And Eric makes that choice. He makes the choice that he's going to run for God. which means that he has to give up his place running. Even though it's making a lot of people angry, a lot of powerful people, including the prince of his country, of Great Britain, including the committee for the Olympic team for Great Britain for that year. Now, what ends up happening, and you should still watch the movie after hearing all this, because it really is great, and it really will affect your faith in athletics. But as he's made this decision, it turns out that another member of the team, who's just won his own Olympic medal, has heard about this dilemma and has said, why don't you give him my place in this other event? So kind of as the takeaway from this, I don't want you to go out thinking that you can't do anything on a Sunday. Because that's really between you and God. That's really up to your relationship with Him. I also don't want you to think that it's always going to work out the way you want it to every time that you have to make one of these things. Because it's not always going to be. But the key thing is, who are we doing this for? Are we doing this for God? Or are we doing this for some other reason? So Eric sided with God. And I'm hoping that y'all will too, especially as a Christian athletic group. So when I say it's about God, that's what I mean when we say that discipline is what our focus should be, or honor. It's about doing the things that God has called us to do. It's about going out there, being kind to others, showing our love for others, just as Jesus showed His love for us. And it's about going out and being an example, about playing fair, and being a good sport, which sometimes means that you've got to deal with it when you lose, and you've got to put on a good face, a brave face, when you lose. Now, the other sport that I do is fencing. That's with swords, and unfortunately, I don't get to do it as much down here as I used to, but it's one of the important parts of my life. And I'll tell you this, I hate losing. I am very, very competitive. But I've been fencing all across the country now. I fenced here in this state, I've fenced up in Tennessee, up in Maryland, up in Virginia, and all the way out in Montana and even in Alaska. And one thing I can tell you is that when you are kind, when you actually try to sit and help others, that means so much more to people than if you win. What I found is that by being kind, by trying to be a presence to bring the light of Jesus Christ into this world through my actions, I found that I've made friends along the way. Sometimes in different clubs. That might be teams for y'all. Fencing is more of a club sport. So when you hear clubs, think teams. So I've had other folks from these clubs, people that I just met, who have rooted me on at tournaments just because of the kindness that I showed them. I've seen other folks who've gone on, some who've been better than me, some who have been worse, and they're not kind. They just focus on winning. And I tell you what, people like them a whole lot less. So part of being Christian athletes is sometimes putting aside winning, but really focusing on being a good sport and being an example to others through whatever sport you're playing, football, soccer, basketball, golf, tennis, whatever it is. If you can be kind to others near you, if you can be a good sport and a good example of the things that you're learning here and the things you're learning in each of your churches, then maybe, just maybe, through that example, through that light, you can bring someone else to know Christ Jesus. And that's really what it's all about. Thank you all.